The first piece of media we are covering is ironically one of the most recent. It is The Timeless Children, the final episode of Jodie Whittaker's second season, the 12th season, and has portrayed the Doctor in their earliest point through the use of the Timeless Child. Now, I've just completely spoiled most of the story of the episode right there. The Doctor is the Timeless Child. Now, if you haven't seen it, if you're like halfway through series 12, sorry, that's a complete spoiler. But oh well.
That's pretty major.
Yeah, it's the 10th and final episode. It was released on the 1st of March 2020 as the final episode of the season. And until the other day, it was the last episode to be released. It features the Master, as played by Sacha Dhawan, and the Cybermen as core enemies, and it features the Fam as Graham O'Brien, Yasmin Khan, and Ryan Sinclair. That's the name.
He's not that memorable, don't worry.
Well, he doesn't do all that much.
He rides a bike.
Not in this episode. No, he doesn't.
Kind of shocking.
Yeah, how dare he not ride a bike in this episode? The rest of them do. They don't. This is of course a 13th Doctor story. 13th Doctor being portrayed by Jodie Whittaker in this instance. This episode was written by Chris Chibnall, directed by Jamie Magnus-Stone, and produced by Alex Mercer. This, while also portraying the Doctor in the earliest point in their timeline, arguably there, I will get to that when I get to that, it also shows, of course, very later on in the 13th Doctor's timeline. This is a second part of a two-part story. Could be
arguably a three-part story.
Arguably a three-part story, arguably a four-part story if you really want to go into it. But in terms of the season, in terms of how it's billed, at least on the TARDIS Data Core, which is where we're taking a lot of our information, it is the second part of the two-part episode, along with Ascension of the Cybermen, which aired a week prior. Now, Josh doesn't like this episode. I'll go right into that.
Well, no, I don't mind the episode. It's the concept I don't like.
Right.
Well, actually, we'll get into it. There's parts of it I don't like.
Right. Background of the episode. Graham, Yaz, and some of the last humans that are left after the cyber wars are on their way to a boundary. This boundary is on a planet that I don't think we know the name of. And they are on a cyber ship, basically. And on the planet, on the boundary, is the 12th Doctor, Ryan, and Ko-Shamus, and some other of the last human beings in existence.
Does have a name? We just don't know what it is.
I mean, they all have names, but they're all not very memorable names, and I probably won't mention them. Ko-Shamus is a memorable name and will play into the story a lot more.
Yeah.
But, right, at the end of Ascension of the Cybermen, we were left on a cliffhanger where the Master popped out of the boundary being the boundary between this unknown planet and, oddly enough, Gallifrey. Gallifrey, if you're not familiar, is the Doctor and the Master's home planet. Or is it? We'll get to that. We'll get to that when we get to that.
Very subtle.
We will get there. But yeah, so
at some point.
Yeah. So the Master pulls the Doctor in through the boundary, which is just a boundary in time and space. It's a little portal thing between this planet and Gallifrey. And it was revealed at the start of the season in Spyfall that the Master had destroyed Gallifrey. So we are.
Original.
Pardon?
So original.
Yes, no one's done it before. Not like this, at least. The Master has killed all the inhabitants of Gallifrey, and there is fire everywhere. It's unknown how he did it, but he did it somehow. The Master is very powerful, apparently, and has access to weapons that cause fire, I imagine. But yeah, he's killed everyone on Gallifrey, and he's got the Doctor through into Gallifrey. The Master brings the Doctor to the Matrix, the lived history of the Time Lords. The Time Lords, of course, being the native species of Gallifrey, or are they?
Well,
kind of.
Technically, their species is just,
Well, their species. Well, we'll get to the genetic engineering later. So basically, if you can't tell, all of the things we think we knew are wrong. And the Master tells the Doctor this. The Master very much goes, everything you know is a lie. Everything the Time Lords taught you was a lie.
I mean, not everything's a lie, but
most things are a lie.
Do stuff in dramatic effect, yeah.
Yeah, in dramatic, for the dramatism, for the theatrics, yeah, basically everything was a lie. But yeah, and well, I'm trying to think if something happened on the ship before we get to the mind-blowing scenes. Josh, walk us through what happened on the cyber ship with Graham and Yaz throughout this episode. And we know Graham and Ryan even. Yaz. Wait, no, Graham and Yaz. Yeah.
Well, where to start? So at the end of Ascension of the Cybermen,
yeah,
that it? From before, yeah. They needed to find a way off the ship. So obviously you had the lone Cyberman who.
Okay, now
we might discuss it later.
We need to get into this. We need to get into who the lone Cyberman is. The lone Cyberman is a Cyberman who is by himself. It is.
Well, no, he's not. He has two mates.
Not anymore. Okay, so in Fugitive of the Jadoon, which I think was the 4th episode of the season, we had Captain Jack Harkness, a returning character who, bloody hell, I'm not going to explain now, warn the Doctor's companions about the lone Cyberman. Don't give it what it wants, said Jack. And fast forward a couple episodes past Praxis over to the Haunting of Villa Diodati, featuring Mary Shelley. We have the Doctor meet the lone Cyberman. The lone Cyberman is a Cyberman with the Cyberium, which is a very powerful Cyberman thing. Josh, do you have anything else on that?
It's just a pretty good description.
It's just a
very good description.
It's a very powerful Cyberman thing with Cyberman knowledge in, and it tells the lone Cyberman what to do. Well, actually, the lone Cyberman did not have the Cyberium at the start of the Haunting of Villa Diodati. Through the events of the episode, the Doctor gave the lone Cyberman the Cyberium. And
exactly what it wanted.
Exactly what it wanted. Exactly what Jack didn't want to do. And while Ryan, Yaz, and Graham didn't want this to happen, sometimes the team structure of Team TARDIS is mountainous, with the Doctor at the top, as she said. Fast forward to the ascension of the Cybermen, the 3rd part of this 4-part kind of saga. We find the lone Cyberman in command of a cyber ship, taking out the last dredgers of humanity. No one who knows anything, but you know what? They need to die because the Cybermen demand it. The Cyberium demands it even. And this is where we see. This is kind of where we start off in the Timeless Children. The So the team has been split up. Team TARDIS has been completely split up between where they are, and Graham and Yaz on the cyber ship on their way to the planet, and the Doctor and Ryan, the Doctor and Ryan and some other people have hijacked a cyber ship and got to the boundary faster. I think that's what's happened. And
yeah, it's basically what happened in that whole episode. That was basically the whole of Ascension of the Cybermen.
Yeah, we don't even need to review it when we get to it now.
Nah, skip it.
Oh, I won't. But yeah, so we get that far, and yeah, so Graham and Yaz and some other people, some other dredges of humanity are on this cyber ship, and that is where, well, they're on their way to the boundary planet. That's where we leave off. Josh, would you like to explain what happened on the cyber ship?
So obviously Graham and Yaz got there in the end. Need to find a way off the ship. So they have some ideas. Then Graham, in his infinite wisdom, decides, let's climb into some Cyberman suits. Because, great idea.
I should make it clear that at this point, the cyber ship has arrived at the boundary.
Yeah. So, I don't know whether you want me to go into this as well, but obviously the lone Cyberman decides to send, I think it's 3 groups of Cybermen down to the planet to, wipe them out.
Yes, so we're on the planet. We are with... So at this point, the Master has taken the Doctor into Gallifrey, but leaving Ryan, Co-Sharmus, and another kid behind. And they have to protect the boundary from the Cybermen. Yeah.
So they're attacking, and a scene inside the tent where Co-Sharmus is like, "Here's my armory," and I think it's Ryan's like, "It's not very good armory, is it?" And so some.
Of course,
call it comedy.
Of course, Co-Sharmus is quite old. Co-Sharmus is an old man. He fought his last battle a long time ago, so that's why his army is not fully stocked.
Yeah.
So we get a couple scenes of Co-Sharmus, Ryan, and this other lad protecting the boundary from the Cybermen, including a rather nice scene of Ryan throwing a bomb like a basketball, mirroring a scene from Spyfall Part 1 earlier in the season, and he blows up a bunch of Cybermen. Now, in the scurry, the Cybermen... So in the scurry, Ryan, Co-Sharmus, and the kid have gone back to the tent. It's a big tent with a lot of corridors in this tent, oddly enough.
It wouldn't be Doctor Who if there wasn't corridors.
God, for corridors. And the kid gets captured by some Cybermen and orders Co-Sharmus and Ryan to reveal themselves, basically. And they do so. They run towards the Cybermen in an attempt to save their friend. Unfortunately, they fail. Or so they think. You see, Graham, Yaz, and the other 2 people, the other 2 last dredges of humanity, have put themselves into cyber suits. Not the easiest thing to do, considering that there are human remains in there and stuff. So
still managed.
Yeah, they managed. Who did they manage? So turns out that they, in cyber suits, took out the Cybermen who were going to take out the young lad. That's what happened. So the whole team is reunited with a nice little moment where Bradley Walsh's Graham can't get his helmet off. And Yaz, Graham, and Co-Sharmus and these dredges of humanity all go to the boundary now that these Cybermen...
And stand there.
now that some of these Cybermen have been defeated, and they go to Gallifrey. Now,
Yeah,
while all of this is going on, the Master on Gallifrey, he has captured the Doctor in a paralysis field. He's told the Doctor that he's killed the entirety of Gallifrey, killed all of the people. But there's one thing he couldn't bring himself to get rid of, and that's the Matrix. The Matrix being a big data core for the Gallifreyan people. And he's protected it. He's protected it partly so he can show the Doctor something, but show the Doctor what? He shows the Doctor a particular piece of Time Lord history, back before they were called the Time Lords, back with an ancient civilization, the indigenous race of Gallifrey, the Shobogans. And
that's what they're called. Yeah, I can never remember that.
And a particular inventor among the Shobogan people, Tecteun. She was the first to invent space travel, rudimentary space travel from the Shobogans. And Tecteun was out on one of the expeditions to a random planet, and she finds someone. She finds a child. The child at the mouth of a gateway to another dimension. And Tecteun isn't really left with a choice here. She can leave this kid at this boundary to another dimension. Maybe her interdimensional parents will come back and get her. Who knows? But no, she decides to adopt the kid as her own, of course, as anyone would, obviously. And Tecteun brings the child back to Gallifrey. And there's an accident. There's an unfortunate accident. The kid who was left at the dimension hole, the mouth of the dimensional rift, gets into a skirmish, as kids do, with a toy, with another kid, with the Shobogan kid, and unfortunately falls off a cliff and lands on rock below.
Supposedly dying.
Yes, but we'll get to what happens next in a bit. I think there's something else in the story I need to cover that isn't in that. I think there's something else that's happened at this point. Yes, the Master. So it's the Master's consciousness which is dealing with the Doctor right now, not him physically. Him physically has called up the lone Cyberman who's appeared at the boundary and asked the lone Cyberman, told the lone Cyberman, that he's killed all these Gallifreyans, and Gallifrey, this planet that's been the enemy of the Cybermen for so long, is free for the taking, basically. And wants the lone Cyberman to come as a matter of urgency to propose a deal. And he does. The lone Cyberman storms Gallifrey. At least, actually, did the lone Cyberman just come alone? I think he did. So the lone Cyberman.
No, the Master went to meet the lone Cyberman on the ship.
Oh yes. Yeah, that is what happened, I suppose. They don't really show the Master going to the ship. The Master's just on the ship in the scene. So the Master's on the ship and proposes an alliance. The Master's great mind. Kind of proposes an alliance. Asks the Cyberman about what the Cyberium, and the lone Cyberman tells the Master about a particular particle that's in the lone Cyberman, a death particle, a particle that is powerful enough that can be activated to destroy all organic life on a planet.
I mean, at least the particle name's straight to the point.
Death particle. It's a great name. Now, the Master, in an attempt to grab this particle, because it's a great weapon, isn't it? Shrinks down the Lone Sideman, killing the Lone Sideman. The Lone Sideman had been such a threat until now, but he's really been put down to size by the Master in using his tissue matter compressor and turned him into a little doll. And the Siberium instantly exits the Lone Sideman. The Master then talks about how it would be fine, how he'd be completely okay with if shrinking down the Lone Sideman activated the death particle. He'd be fine with that. He's already found out what he needs to know, and he doesn't mind dying. A nice bit of nuance from Sacha Dhawan's Doctor. I liked that. I liked his old scene where he seemed quite weary and, wouldn't have minded death.
Yeah.
But yes, he takes the Lone Sideman's little itty-bitty corpse, which has the death particle in, and the Siberium enters the Master. While all of this is going on, the Doctor is still being talked to by the Master's consciousness, and something. Now we kind of left it on a cliffhanger. What happened to the child who fell off a cliff? The child who fell off a cliff regenerated. Now, of course, this is the first regeneration ever seen on Gallifrey. The Shobogans can't regenerate. The Shobogans are basically humans with two hearts, I imagine, and very smart. Yeah. Besides that seems to be all the biological differences between Shobogans and humans. But yes.
Yeah, it does. That's all I could think of.
Tecteun.
The fact that, just one thing to add, and I'm pretty sure it was mentioned at some points that they may have an extra brain, but that might just be rubbish.
That was not mentioned in this episode. That might have been mentioned at some point.
Not in this episode, but I think it was mentioned at some point.
I don't think any Time Lord has two brains, but, maybe, I don't know, they'd look weird if they had two brains. But yeah, so luckily Tecteun saw this regeneration. Otherwise, Tecteun would assume that the child who came back to her was someone else entirely. So,
very lucky.
Yeah, Tecteun saw this happen, and Tecteun is amazed. The scientist in her wants to examine what happened. So Tecteun, over the course of years and years, studies the child from another dimension. Well, we're going to just call it the timeless child, because that's probably the best. That's the best way to do it. So Tecteun studies the child, making the child regenerate quite a few times.
That gets morally questionable. I wonder how.
All in the name of science, Chris.
Anything in the name of science.
No, it's all fine. But who's going to stop her? Science committee? Nah. Immortality is the goal. So the timeless child can regenerate an infinite amount of times. That will become important later. But yeah, so Tecteun finally, after triggering multiple regenerations, figures out the secret and manages to splice the gene into her own DNA, much at risk to herself. So what?
I mean, fair play to testing it on yourself.
She immediately regenerates into a black man. So yeah, so Tecteun has regenerated, and yeah, we figured out the secret to regeneration. Then is shown Tecteun, along with two others, are at the top of Shobogan society. or at this point, the Time Lord Society. Because at some point during this, they figured out time travel, completely disconnected to the whole
I
thing.
mean, obviously, regeneration somehow affects your ability to discover time travel.
I mean, kind of. I mean, the
I
more.
think that, and they had a lot more time to work on it.
Yeah.
You know, with being immortal and that.
You know, I'm sure if we lived to be 10,000, we could figure it out.
Well, that opens a whole other thing. But
yeah. Okay, I don't know if you're going the Thanos route there, but okay. But yeah, so they figure out time travel, but at the top of Time Lord Society is this Tecteun. And the story of the Timeless Child is great. During the events of Ascension of the Cybermen, we are going back to episode 9, we see these visions of a police officer in Ireland. Now, they kind of play into this episode. The Doctor has also been... Pardon?
Sort of.
Kind of. The Doctor has also been seeing these visions. She didn't react to the visions in the first episode, but apparently she had been seeing them. And these are visions of Ireland, visions of 20th century Ireland. And it is the Matrix's way of kind of obscuring the information about the Timeless Child. And after the Timeless Child, after Tecteun is up high in High Gallifrey, the Timeless Child is enlisted to help the Time Lords, Tecteun and the other two high people at Gallifrey predicted to be Rassilon and Omega, who are prominent figures in Time Lord mythos, being two of the highest ranking people, fathers of Gallifrey, even the founding fathers, I suppose. They decided that every Time Lord should only have 13 regenerations, as in they can regenerate 12 times and then they die.
How selfish.
Indeed. But of course they can't splice that into the Timeless Child. So what they do is, after every 12 regenerations, they wipe the Timeless Child, who isn't a child anymore. They wipe their mind. They wipe their mind of all memories. So, and that's shown in the flashbacks to Ireland, in quotes. And
where they wipe the old guy's memories.
Yeah. So
I've got one point about that.
Go ahead.
Surely he would have noticed that, there's one guy working there and his dad both aren't aging.
Yeah, but Time Lords don't age. It's not meant to be a proper, like, this is what happened. It's the Matrix's way of obscuring that anything was going on in the footage. So that's how I explain away that. And the Master tells the Doctor something that has big consequences for everything in the franchise, basically. The Master tells the Doctor that the Timeless Child, well, it's her. The Timeless Child is the Doctor before the Doctor was the Doctor. Before the Doctor was played by William Hartnell in 1969, the Doctor was the Timeless Child.
Right. Can this be where I tell my issues with the story?
Yes, this would be that place.
Right. Okay. This is going to take a while.
Go ahead.
Right. Issue number one. And look, this may not be the biggest issue, but I find it reasonably prominent. The Doctor has two hearts, correct?
Correct.
So what is the potential possibility of both the Doctor and the Shibogan's species having two hearts?
fairly low.
Yeah, so that's my first issue of why I think the Doctor isn't the timeless child.
Counterpoint.
Now, the thing is,
Counterpoint.
right, okay.
Of course, Tecteun can merge the DNA for regeneration into herself. Who's to say the Time Lords do not possess the ability to, while during the process of regeneration, put in some of their DNA into the timeless child / Doctor? So,
right, okay, that's fair.
Go for your second point.
Second point. Obviously, at the end of Name of the Doctor or Name of the Doctor is at the end of season 7.
The end of season 7 is the Name of the Doctor.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So obviously, the Doctor gets granted however many more regenerations. We don't know, but surely, if they were the timeless child, they would have just been able to regenerate anyway.
I think you mean the time of the Doctor. While the Name of the Doctor is the end of series 7, it is not the story you're talking about. That's fair. That is very fair. However, actually, yeah, it's just kind of fair. But then again, the Doctor doesn't know at that point in his life that he has more regenerations left in him.
Yeah, but I would have thought that the regeneration energy would have just been there, you know?
Well, apparently it wasn't. And the Time Lords who are in Gallifrey at that point also don't know that the Doctor is the timeless child. It is a big secret. So they give the Doctor the regeneration energy which allows them to regenerate. I'm not entirely sure how that works. That is a bit weird.
Right, okay. Next point. Right, I don't have an issue with the timeless child existing. Honestly, I think it's a good thing, and it honestly could work with someone else. The reason I don't think it works with the Doctor, and this is more an out-of-universe thing, but kind of relates to in-universe, is sort of like it makes the Doctor have to be someone special. And I always thought that the big sort of draw was the Doctor isn't special, the Doctor's just anyone.
Counterpoint. The timeless child isn't the Doctor. So here, that seems a bit counterintuitive to what I've said. The character of the Doctor, as we know her, started with William Hartnell's regeneration, because of course William Hartnell's regeneration lost his memories of before William Hartnell's regeneration.
Yeah.
The character,
yeah.
The only thing that this changes about the Doctor, in my eyes, is their biology and what the body used to be. The character resets every time the memories are erased and they're forced into the body of a child again, which is another really weird thing that happens. But it's a whole new character every time. Not hardly anyone in Time Lord society, certainly not Barusa or the Master, knew that the Doctor was the timeless child, certainly didn't treat them any differently. So I'd say that all of their choices up until this point was their character. Their character is the lump sum of all the choices you make. And I think that's true for the Doctor. Now, so this changes the biological origins of the Doctor, but not the character of the Doctor. Nothing about the Doctor is different, per se.
Right, okay, I've got one more point, I think. I can't think of anything else otherwise, but I think I've got one more point.
Right.
So, in Future of the Jadoon, we meet the Ruth Doctor. At least that's what everyone calls her.
We do meet Ruth Clayton,
right,
who is a regeneration of the Doctor prior to William Hartnell's regeneration.
So now, assuming this is before William Hartnell, and since William Hartnell's the first Doctor, that would have been after a memory wipe.
Yes. Now,
why does the Ruth Doctor call herself the Doctor and have the TARDIS from before the first Doctor stole it from Gallifrey with the exact same chameleon circuit sort of bigger on the outside. If that makes sense.
Right. I don't know. I have no idea about this. So the first thing that comes to mind is for the name discrepancy. There is a time loop in place for the Doctor. That is kind of weird. The Doctor has influenced the name the Doctor. So the existence of the Doctor and their deeds throughout time has created the word Doctor for healer and kind man. River Song says this in A Good Man Goes to War.
Yeah.
My theory is that while the Doctor has influenced the word for Doctor across multiple galaxies, that word also influences the Doctor to name themselves the Doctor.
Time travel.
That's how it works. The time loop. So, a bootstrap paradox. So I think that's the way multiple regeneration cycles of the Doctor have called themselves the Doctor. As for the TARDIS, no clue. I hadn't even thought of this. I have no idea about that at all. It's weird. That's all I can say. I don't know. Yeah, no clue.
Yeah, no, I can't think of any other points at the moment, obviously.
Should we jump back into the story?
Yeah, go on then.
So the Master has Cyberium and tells the Doctor, the Doctor's out of the trance now, of the Matrix, that he's kept the bodies. So while he's killed everyone on Gallifrey, and even if that might include some of the Doctor's companions from the past who settled on Gallifrey, that's a whole other thing.
Oh no, I never thought of that.
Yeah, so, some of the Doctor's companions lived on Gallifrey. Yeah, so we can assume that they are now dead. Or maybe they were off-world, but there's a good chance they're dead. Which is a shame. I liked Leela and Romana.
No, I mean Romana's somewhere else.
Is she? I'm not
pretty sure. No, I'm pretty sure that we'll get there eventually.
I'm not sure we will. I think that's a spin-off. But
no, because obviously it's explained where she goes at the end of her last episode.
Ah, yes, but then you have the Gallifrey audio series from Big Finish.
Oh yeah, when she becomes the president or something like that?
I'm not entirely sure. I need to listen to it. But it won't be in this project because it's not in the Doctor's timeline. Because the Doctor doesn't appear. That'll be its own thing when we do spin-offs, I suppose. But yeah. So what happens next? The Master of Cyberium, he's kept the bodies of the Time Lords he's killed, and he converts them into Cybermen who can regenerate into Cyber Masters, he calls them. And he does this nice little dance where he mimics the Cybermen as they walk into the room. That's a nice little moment. But yeah, so also at some point in this, the Doctor goes back into the Matrix after learning what she's learnt and is met by the Roof Doctor, presumably a manifestation of the Doctor's desperateness or something. And they get out of the Matrix by blowing the Matrix's mind with flashbacks of the show while the Doctor Who theme very unsubtly plays. That was a nice moment, I suppose. But yeah. Then, right, so these masters, these cyber masters, they can regenerate, which isn't good. You know, a cyber fleet that can regenerate is very not good. So, I'm trying to think when the fam meet up with the Doctor. At some point in this, the fam
leaves at some point.
Yeah, at some point in this, the fam meets the Doctor. Oh, actually, yeah, the fam meets the Doctor. And they go This might be before the Cybermaster reveal, actually. They go to the ship because, well, they go to the cyber ship trying to find the Master. And what they find is the lone Cyberman, a Shad, he's also called, shrunk down with the death particle inside. Also, this is something I don't get. How the hell does the Master shrink a
I don't know. It's sci-fi. Anything can happen.
Like, how is it a particle but smaller? Like, that's something I don't get. A particle is an elementary... Chris, help me out here. It's an elementary... He's muted himself. Great.
I forgot which way around it was.
Right. So, a particle is an elementary something or other?
Well, it's sort of it's an elementary sort of point of matter, but usually whenever anything's shrunk in sci-fi or anything, they usually use the gaps between the particles rather than the particles themselves.
Yeah, fair enough. It's all sci-fi, but so let's say the Master shrunk the space between the quarks in the particle. Does that make sense, Chris?
Not the space between the quarks, but the space between the particles, because the quarks will kind of...
Chris, it is one particle. He has managed to shrink one particle.
Right, let's be honest. It was Chibnall right in this. Doesn't have to make...
No, this is kind of me being pedantic. But yeah, he's shrunk the particle down. But yeah, the Doctor gets the lone Cyberman.
I guess when you can bend space-time, it gets all, well, wibbly-wobbly timey-wimey only without the time bit and more with the space bit.
Wow, Chris, I was wondering when we'd get to the point in the podcast where someone would bring up a meme from the 10th Doctor's era. It didn't take long. Right. So now the Doctor has the lone Cyberman, and after being introduced to the Cybermasters, knows what she has to do. So the Koshamus, the Fam, and the other people, the other dredgers of humanity, blow up the cyber ship, and using some explosives. And the Doctor knows what she has to do. She has to get rid of these Cybermasters because otherwise they will enslave humanity and other places and destroy other things. But at some point in this is going back a bit. The Master, while talking to the Lone Cyberman reveals that his Cybermen are purely, they have been purged of all organic components. Now, this is a bit of a problem for me. It's a contradiction in story, because early in the story, we get Graham and Yaz and some of the Dredgers of Humanity say that the Cybermen are filled with human remains.
I think it was the point made that he wanted to turn them into just...
No, he said that they were purged of... He said that they were already purged.
Oh, okay.
So it's a bit weird. That's a Chibnall. I can blame Chibnall for that one.
Can we have that as like a phrase we use? Just that's a Chibnall.
Yeah, the thing is, I'm not sure when.
It's not going to get used much.
Yeah, I'm not sure when the next Chibnall story is in this list.
Can we still just use it anyway?
No.
Even if it's not a Chibnall.
I mean, you can if you want. But yeah, so what was I saying? Josh, that's a question. What was I saying?
And they don't have human remains in, or they do have human remains in.
Before that. Oh yes, the Doctor knows what she has to do. She has to blow up the Cybermen. Unfortunately, Koshamus only has one bomb left, and it is hand detonation only, without a timer.
Oh, what a shame.
Now here's something. Why does that exist? Why is there a bomb that you have that is only hand detonation that doesn't have a timer? What strategic use is that bomb?
What?
Did you hear what I said?
Yeah, it's just, plot.
But why would he have a bomb that is hand detonation only, that doesn't have a timer?
Well, his excuse was last resort, but...
Or mutual defeat if he assumes that it can be used against him, that it ensures the demise of whoever's using it.
I suppose maybe it's the whole thing of like why Russian operatives or something might have a cyanide pill in their mouth. It's because death is better than being captured, and if you're going to do that, you might as well blow up stuff as well.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. I think they should have explained that better, but oh well.
Doesn't matter. It's done now.
The Doctor and the gang find a TARDIS in Gallifrey. The Doctor sets the controls to send everyone back to 2019 England. Well, it was probably England. They said the UK. It's probably England. But
Probably
yeah,
Sheffield.
probably near Sheffield. And the Doctor sets the controls. All of them go back to 2019 Sheffield. Well, England. And the Doctor goes to confront the Master and the Cybermasters with this bomb. The Master says that he left the death particle for the Doctor. Wondered if she'd use it. And she totally would. She absolutely would.
Well,
She would. But she doesn't. Because Ko Sharmus comes in.
she would.
Because Ko Sharmus comes in. So for some reason the image in my mind right now is the Doctor, the 10th incarnation, saying, "Make the basis of your society someone who never would."
Is it because is it because Ko Sharmus and...
Ko Sharmus...
completely different tangent there.
Yeah. But yes, so Ko Sharmus comes in. Ko Sharmus declares that he's the one who started this. He was part of the battalion who sent the Siberian back in time to Villa Diodati. So it goes all kind of full circle. And Ko Sharmus is more than happy to press the detonator and destroy all organic life on Gallifrey. Now here's what kind of annoys me. The Doctor lets him do it.
Yeah.
The Doctor runs away. The Doctor, who was so ready to sacrifice her life, lets someone else sacrifice their life. Just lets it happen.
Yeah.
That's a bit weird for me. That's a bit like the Doctor's happy for someone else to die actually now.
Yeah, we know. That's a whole nother problem with some of the writing in season 11 and 12, in my opinion.
I'm not sure that's actually happened in season 11, 12. That's a very specific problem with this episode, I think. That the Doctor just let someone else die.
I think my main problem is they haven't really decided who they want the 13th Doctor to be yet.
Well,
as their own character.
It's not even that. None of the Doctors would allow. I don't think any of the Doctors would let someone take their life instead. It is like if the Doctor in The End of Time Part 2 let Wilf die, because it was either Wilf or him.
You joke about that, but I have seen the alternate scenario for what happens if he did that.
Yes, that leads to Time Lord Victorious, I think, doesn't it? So, yeah. Actually, I think it also leads to another alternate timeline in the comics, I think.
Yeah.
But
because Time Lord Victorious is between Waters of Mars and End of Time.
Yeah, but it would put him on a yes, basically.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the Doctor runs away. Ko Sharmus and the Master dies, or we presume. All the Cybermasters also die. And the Doctor goes back to... Well, she finds the TARDIS. she goes back to where her TARDIS is, where she left it, in a quarry in Wales. Where she left the TARDIS, and she goes in the TARDIS, and she rests just for a little bit, and then the Judoon appear and take her to prison for her crimes, and that's where the story ends.
Yeah.
Bloody hell! It would have been almost quicker to watch the episode than hear us explain the episode.
Only 15 minutes, something like that.
Only 5 minutes slower.
Oh.
We explained that episode
we didn't start straight away.
I suppose, but still, bloody hell, we need to be a bit quicker. But yes.
Yeah, I'd say before we move on, does Chris have anything to add? Because he's been awfully silent.
Yes.
Not particularly, other than as far as we were aware, she was doomed to spend her life in prison.
You would have been better saying you should get us all out of sight, because you were being awfully silent.
Oh.
And that is why we added Chris to this, because he brings top level tier comedy.
And mine isn't?
Well, I mean, you've just heard Chris's comedy, right?
Oh, okay.
It's like next level stuff.
Anyways, so Josh, overall thoughts on The Timeless Children, rating out of 10.
Out of 10?
Yes, and general thoughts.
Well, I'm going to go just do general thoughts first. Good concept. I think they picked the wrong person to do the concept around. Story is reasonably entertaining. There's some moments where it just falls a bit flat. I think pacing is a general issue. That's just a general issue of season 12, in my opinion. I'm not going to go into it. Overall rating, I'm going to go 6 out of 10.
Christopher, general thoughts, rating out of 10.
Yeah, very bold, very sudden decision to sort of, we're just going to rewrite everything you think you know. But it was quite a good episode. I'd say, I agree with Josh, about 6 out of 10.
And as for me, despite some weird character moments, there was also a scene between Graham and Yaz that shook me weird, wrong way. But I didn't mention that. So some character moments, some canon-defining moments as well. But the writing really lets it down, in my opinion. Overall, also, it's a really satisfying end to the story arcs that the series had set up by this point. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Let's move on to the next. So, by the way, we do not have... So, the whole premise between this project is an episode a day. We do not have 7 episodes this time. We only have 3 because we started on the 1st of January and today's the 3rd.
Thank God, otherwise this podcast might last 7 hours.
Yeah, we need to work on the length. We'll speed through the movie. The next one is a movie.